afternoon, everybody. A very warm welcome to a delightful winter's afternoon in Belmore. Top versus bottom in a potentially season-defining afternoon in the NPL New South Wales men's. Sydney Olympic hosting APIA Leichhardt in an inner west wrestle. An Olympic come here today off the high of the Australia Cup clash with Brisbane Roar here on Thursday night. No win, but a brave performance. But back in the bread and butter of the league, Olympic situation looking even more dire because of what's happened elsewhere already this afternoon. St George City's shock lead at Marconi means they'll need a result here to give themselves any chance of avoiding a relegation playoff in September. And for APIA, the picture rather clearer. Plenty still to do, but their fate is in their own hands. Win 5 in a row from here, and they'll be premiers for the second time in Franco Parisi's 4-year reign as head coach. Dealing a blow to their inner west neighbours would just be an additional little cherry on top. You see Josh Hong and Sean Simmons down there conducting the toss with our referee today, Harriet G. Let's bring you the team news. Sydney Olympic making 3 changes from that team that faced the Roar here on Thursday night. Peter Politis, Adam Bugaria and Khan Nizam all cup-tied and all back in, except for Politis. Jacob Trasoglovic dropping out, Marcus Fernandez and Peter Grozos as well. So Zoricic, Hong, Politis and Aquian is the back four. Kukuchka, Clark, Bugaria and Nizam the midfield four. Panos Amanakis once again partnering Bailey Callahan as the front two. And for APIA, 3 changes from their 4-1 win over UNSW last weekend. A commanding display that saw Presley Ortiz move level with Awan Lual in the Golden Boot race. He'll need more after Lual's strike yesterday to keep chase there. Behind him, Saya Kambiashi and Franco Farinella into a midfield alongside Michael Conestablo, Eddie Caspers and Fabian Monge. Sean Simmons and Michael Kuda, the fullbacks. Kyle Shaw partnering the debutant Alessandro Pitch in for his first start as a senior footballer in APIA colours, with Oliver Kalatz in goal. So all just about ready. Olympic have never played lower than the first division of New South Wales football as Olympic. Pan Hellenic in 1959 they did. They were promoted the year after. But since then they've been 2-time national champions, 3 times champions of this state of New South Wales. Once one of the biggest clubs in Australia. This final month of football will either be a disastrous climax of their story or a survival campaign. That chapter starts with these next 90 minutes against the champions, against the premiers-elect. So much on the line for both here today for such different reasons. APIA in their change strip of gold. Is that going to be somewhat of an omen? What they'll be lifting later in the season. I tell you what, the depth's on display again from Franco Parisi. Forced to rotate with Stewart and Jordan out. And brings in one of the best players in the competition from a year ago, Saya Kambiashi. And Franco Farinella, the young players that has continued to sparkle over the course of this season. Still only 21 years of age, but as we're seeing more and more, these players getting picked out of this competition to go and play A-League football. Oscar Gonzalez has already departed to take part in pre-season with the Newcastle Jets. Max Court set to depart for the Brisbane Roar at the end of this campaign. APIA's turned into somewhat of a finishing school for players. Those two very much well developed, but Ortiz with his best ever return over the course of a single season. It was previously just striking double digits as Clark gets himself into a big mess. Monge onto the ball, and Ortiz has got the taste for goal at the moment. That was a tough opportunity, and Curto happy to watch it fly over his crossbar. Great performance on Thursday for Sydney Olympic against Brisbane, but needed to really get back on the pitch again after their display in the league last time out against Manly United, battered by 4-0 at Cromer last Friday. Back on home turf and bathed in sunshine. A couple of alterations to the kickoff times. Originally slated to be a very rare 7 o'clock kickoff, but the team's deciding they'd rather get it out of the way earlier in the afternoon. I certainly understand that point of view of the players. Caspers with an uncharacteristic turnover. Gavier's almost giving it straight back. It was a bit of a dodgy throw from the right-hand side as well, but you don't see them blown up too often, and Ortiz is away. Side down by Hong. We'll argue he got his body in the right position, but that was only to block off Presley Ortiz. Another one highly thought of, Josh Hong, when he's coming through his youth academy days with the Central Coast Mariners. Now captaining this Sydney Olympic side more often than not with the injury to Ziggy Gordon. And Olympic missed his experience in the back line. Politis back in there today, but longer serving Olympic player, still only 24. Needing those experienced heads to stand up today. Seth Clark brought back in after his OFC Pro League time. Nice touch from Kambiashi. Can he lay it off for Ortiz? Well-timed challenge from Bagaria. He's half an appeal for a penalty kick, but G was happy to wave that away. And Pakien playing his side into a little bit of trouble. The first touch for Alessandro Pichin. St Patrick's College Strathfield product, who's been part of the New South Wales Schoolboys setup recently, part of their national championship winning campaign. Was only named in the squad for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and the loss to Sutherland didn't get on there, but straight in from the start with some real issues amongst APIA's defensive stocks at the moment. It's been part of the reason for their rather ropey defence, even as they've chased this title. 4 goals last weekend against UNSW, but they were probably a little more open than they would have liked to be after conceding 3 against the Wanderers the week earlier. Had a clean sheet for 7 games. It was a 2-0 win over Wollongong back on the 18th of June. Monaco suit. Well, a good first 45 minutes a week ago against Sydney FC. Faded out of the game as the momentum was swept away from his team, and Pichin standing up to his first piece of defensive work. Right up to the challenge there. And Casper's not helping him out. Dispossessed again by Bulgaria. Pichin recovering well. It's difficult to get into the team in that right fullback position. There's a smattering of Pichin supporters, I think, who've made their way out today. Down below us to our left and from our broadcast position. Because Cameron Fong has barely missed a minute and dropping out today. Wondered whether Kuda might go out to that right fullback position, but that's not been the case. Trusted to partner Kyle Shaw through the centre of defence again. And here is the aforementioned Kuta. Signing from Hakoah back in 2020. How long ago that seems, just 6 seasons ago. Has had so much success since then. Such a key for all 4 years of Parisi's tenure that we mentioned in the pre-game. Premiers in 2023, Waratah Cup winners in 2024, champions a year ago, their first grand final under the club legend. This is success that Olympic used to talk about. Mentioned in the same breath when you talked about success, and still the last club to complete the double of a premiership and championship in the same season in the NPL New South Wales men's competition. So difficult to do, that team under Abbas-Saad. Not done yet. St George City still leading by a goal to nil at Marconi. That a story in itself, a happy one if you're an APIA supporter watching today. Just after half-time there, Manly have found an equaliser against Rockdale out at the Illingdon Sports Centre. Ball's delivered towards Politis, who was in there. Clark scrapping the ball forward, flicked away by Farinella, retained by Clark. Good spell for Olympic. Can they capitalise? Politis. Hong. It was an inventive touch from Khan Nizam and not one that paid dividends. And Sean Simmons has got such a beautiful left foot. He uses it to unlock the Olympic midfield and send Monge away. This ball behind Conestabo didn't really help his cause. Been shifted to the right today, Michael Conestabo, with Farinella being accommodated. We'll see those three, and he, Kambiashi and Farinella, switch between the three attacking midfield positions behind Ortiz. Kambiashi. Conestabo, cut out by Akien. Retained by Kambiashi again. Looks like the instruction today from Farinella and his assistant David Depuzo is just to get as many numbers forward as possible, and you see that with the left fullback Simmons making an attacking run. He was flattened as Hong cleared the danger. Play allowed to continue for now. I wonder whether RP will just let the ball run out of play, and they do. Simmons straight back to his feet. Feeling that didn't tickle. It's going to take something tougher to dispatch of the 2017 gold medal winner in this competition. No wonder he's looking forward. It's the first time he's not had a goal in a league campaign since the COVID pandemic. He's managed to grab a couple here and there. Sean Simmons, not back to his halcyon days of racking up 10-15 in a season, but still knows where the back of the net is. Armanakis certainly knows that. Squares it up for Bagaria, who's looking to get a shot away. Will feed Nizam. Those two just on slightly different pages, and pitching back to deal with the danger. Well, better than just nicely. It was a tremendous release of Farinella to get APIA out of danger and up the pitch. Some reports coming into the game today that Belmore surface wasn't in the best state, but I tell you what, it's looking a lot better than it was 12 months ago here. A little bit pockmarked, but nothing too extreme. Bit of help by the rain we've had in Sydney over the past 48 hours. Not too much of it, just a light sprinkling, which I think will help one of the few natural grass pitches around the competition. Might not be a surprise given these two's league standing coming into today, but APIA have had the wood over Sydney Olympic, even at this ground or at home. Last year they played fixture, well 2 years ago, played the fixture at Jubilee Stadium. Ended 1-1. That was the last time Olympic managed to avoid defeat against APIA. The last time they were able to win at home, I have to go back to 2021. Round 3. It was a Tom Whiteside goal that got the winner that day. Be one of the defenders that stands up for them again today. Hong's being forced into doing some defending early. Clark just sweeping the ball off the boot of Farinella. Casper's happy to retain possession, and now we seem to be getting into a pattern of play in this game that is one that we thought more likely. Zoricic and Kurto not on the same page, but the Kiwi right back able to shepherd the ball out of play. Under close attention from Kambiyashi. Could have been a very awkward moment indeed. Hasn't always looked assured, Philip Kurto, signing straight from the MacArthur Bulls in the A-League men's. They didn't have the best campaign. It's comparable for a couple of the goals that Manly United scored at Cromer last weekend. Look overly comfortable. Better performance against Brisbane on Thursday nights, but it's been a fair way short of the standard he set for himself as the best goalkeeper in the A-League men's competition only 4 or 5 seasons ago. Michael Melito, only brought in mid-season to try and save a sinking ship. He's made a good go of things. It's as though they were set for automatic relegation for quite a period. St George FC's complete dissolution of their form has meant that there's somebody for them to chase into the Pro Rel playoff spots, but it's been a disappointing campaign, and whistles like that don't help their cause. Still a fair contingent in here at Belmore today. I don't know whether the crowds might continue to flit away, but something about watching a team going poorly as well, knowing your support is that important to them as they look to drag themselves out of trouble. We've got to do some defending here to ensure they can still do that. Conestobo for Monge, not a regular goal scorer by any stretch of the imagination. Casper's keeping the attack alive. Conestobo! Stunner! A sweet strike, which gave Kurto no hope, right where the Spiders live. And APIA take a deserved lead in quite brilliant fashion. Well, those who've been watching Michael Conestobo long enough knew the end result as the ball sat up perfectly for him. And he did not disappoint with the finish. It's a beauty. It's his 6th of the league campaign. And APIA have a nerve settler. Right on 15 minutes. And even moved out to the flank as he has been predominantly today. Still a danger in front of goal, Mikey Conestobo. It's not been the return he had last year with Spirit. He's flitted in and out of the team. That's part of making the move across to such a storied organisation as APIA are. You have to fight for your spots week on week. But my goodness, when he has started and has played, output for Franco Parisi has been nothing short of outstanding again this season. He's a late bloomer, Conestobo. So many of these APIA players coming through professional setups in their junior years and around national team setups. He was none of that. Player was playing with right on the Lions for a long period of time, pulled out of obscurity, well, really pulled himself out of obscurity with his performances for Spirit FC. And he's on the ball again here. Ortiz off the shoulder this time, Lidas covering. Well-timed challenge. There's not much Olympic could have done about that opening goal. And APIA rolling forward again, relentless. They have been for most of this campaign. There was a little hold up in their form through the course of late June, early July, where they weren't able to win in 3 games in the league. Lost the Waratah Cup final, but they have turned things well and truly around since then. This play's just stopped for Manakis to have a check on his well-being. To finish that point took Konosaba, culminated with his naming in the Team of the Year last year, alongside Kambiyashi. Suddenly a couple of those players finding themselves in the same team, wearing the colours of APIA. An Olympic who knew they had a hill to climb. Even a point will be enough just to cling on to something here. This one of the tougher fixtures they'll have towards the closing of the season, although you could argue it's not the most difficult, which is quite something when you're talking about the champions. Sydney United and Marconi still coming in the final month of the season. So staying competitive across the 90 minutes in every game from now till the finishing day is going to be so important. When you're on the receiving end of strikes like Michael Konosaba's, it does make things a lot more difficult. Konosaba into the challenge with Politis, keeping the ball for Caspers. He can just reset from the back. Oh, it's a rather poor pass from Shaw. It's not something you say about him too often, and Clark can run. Armanakis there with him, and Kuda's challenge was late and crude. And so Olympic have a chance to strike back from a set-piece situation. It's something they've enjoyed at different stages of the year. One's going to be a fair way out to beat Ollie Kalat. He's still one of the highest thought of goalkeepers around the competition as well. Pink goalkeepers kit on today. In fact, Kurto does as well. And 3 in the wall as Armanakis gets set to strike and never really got the dip he was looking for. Wasted first situation for the host in a spot like that. A rather subdued atmosphere around Belmore now, given the start to this game. Been treated to a pretty memorable strike, but for the team, the majority in here were hoping could open the scoring. There was a time both teams were trying to build this fixture into a bit of a rivalry when they were both up chasing silverware. Had that game at Jubilee that I talked about where really were trying to get the fans in. 2023 when APIA won the league, it was one of the biggest fixtures of the calendar. Reigning premiers against the premiers elect at Lambert Park. Food trucks in would have been easily the highest attendance of the season. The Olympic situation now has changed that somewhat. Farinella, who was well on sides, appeals across from Seth Clark, but he's 2-3 yards on, and the ball inside for Kambiyashi Zaputi. Just needs someone on the end of it. He couldn't repeat the trick, could he, Konostavo? He was thinking about just that. A little less balance that time, falling away, and so the ball sprayed wide. Wouldn't put it past him. Scored in the Waratah Cup final as well. It's ultimately a losing performance for APIA. That's his personal performance, another to write home about. Second time he's done that after winning it with Spirit back in 2022. Here's Ortiz. And the delivery for Kambiyashi, who couldn't turn it home. Hasn't scored since last year's grand final, the Japanese winger. And moments like that just not quite going his way in 2026. Wonderfully found by Ortiz. He's showing he can produce as a provider as well, not just a scorer of goals. Presley Ortiz this season. trying to give him team some emphasis, get them going forward. And one or two complaints that Michael Kuda's couple of fouls should see him pick up a booking. That's not the case just yet. Keeping a close eye on that game out at Marconi, which still stands at St George City 1, Marconi Stallions 0. If that result holds, and this one does as well, APIA will lead the competition by 5 points with 4 games to play. It would be almost home in terms of the Premiership. To the point where they could clinch it before they meet Sydney United in the second last game of the season. I think that would be an ideal scenario for all those of an APIA persuasion. Talk about the success of Sydney Olympic early in the broadcast. APIA have long been one of the highest thought of organisations around Australian football. 7th New South Wales Grand Final victory last year. And they're searching for a 7th Premiership to match in 2026. First of those came when they did the double all the way back in 1964. Like John Watkiss, John Giacometti. How far are you going back? Had their time in the NSL, of course, as well. Rather, Kosic was here, the late greats, former Socceroos boss. There's a chance for Conestabile to turn. Olympic just getting a little bit stretched in those transition moments. And Simmons a chance to deliver. Ball just bypassing Ortiz, who's pulled away from his turn gingerly. Keep an eye on that. Conestabile retrieves the football. Pitching getting involved with Monge and Caspers. Monge ensuring the ball keeps going the right way. Kambiashi in a crossing position. And he's picked up Caspers. Well, he tried to pass the ball in rather than really striking through with his laces, and now they could be away Olympic. This promising youngster, Seb Kukuchka, without too much support and taking a touch too many. Kambiashi with a touch on for Simmons. He wasn't too far away from finding Ortiz, but the momentum in this game at the moment, you feel it's only a matter of time before APIA can find a second, unless Olympic find a way out. And Callahan's touch didn't help them there. Caspers away from Politis. Just looking for supporting gold behind Monge. Set up for Kambiashi. It's Politis throwing himself in front of the ball. Ortiz can't turn it home. All hands on deck for the Olympic defence. They really are being picked apart through midfield. So it's smothering from APIA when they press like this. Clark, a player with wherewithal and technique to pick the press more often than not, but he needs support. He has been using one of the foremost attacking threats for the Olympic team that were unlucky not to play finals football last year under Labano Haliti. It's been used in a deeper role by Michael Melito since returning to the club. They're pushing him into a more advanced position has crossed the mind of the hierarchy at any stage. And Kukuchka would love some support up there. He's got the bit between his teeth now. Again, his touch just betraying him as he looked to get his head up. Clark. His touch betrayed him for just a moment there. Armanakis. Olympic trying to play with a positivity, get their feet underneath them. They've absorbed so much pressure in the opening quarter of this game. Nizam. Bulgaria, who a few periods they did have where they looked positive in the opening 5-10 minutes. He was at the centre of Cambiashi, who's always applied himself diligently in terms of his defensive work, winning the ball deep there. And then Clark slipping, allowing Monge in, and nicking the ball back off him, the Kiwi. There's the 1-2 punch. Casper's coming across in cover once Monge was beaten. He's been in discussions about Players of the Year. Eddie Caspers, with his output this season and his improvement, debuted all the way back in 7 years ago. How's my maths? 2019 with Northbridge. The 17-year-old, now 24, is looking right at his peak, but he is having to use those years of experience to just cut off Kukuchka there. And the calls for a booking this time heeded by the referee. Caspers turns to see the yellow pointed in his direction. First booking of the afternoon is the APIA Leichhardt midfielders. Marcus going short from the set piece. They didn't have too many bodies forward, Olympic, so maybe this was the right way to go. Pugaria's delivery just escaped Callahan, and then Akian couldn't get to the ball to the back post in time. Pitching, clearing. Looked as though he was taken down, and then Akian slipping as he looked to deliver the ball, and then just shoving Caspers to the turf, and he's going to go into the book as well. A little bit of fire starting to seep into the game, and so Harriet G, a pair of bookings, one to either team, just to try and take down the temperature a little. Yashi and Zoricic resuming what's been an enjoyable battle down this near side. Zoricic really with the first chance to get forward this time. Looking up with Callahan, and then his ball back inside. A bit to be desired. Oh, they're still engaged, the Olympic faithful, riding every pass and challenge as their team try to work their way back into this game. But Swift's little sequences like that are going to help out Apia, and Ortiz is bearing down on goal. He's found Contestavo for two. A brace of brilliance for Apia's number 8, helped out by Ortiz on this occasion. But once Presley Ortiz had broken the defensive line, there was only going to be one result, and Contestavo made no mistake. And Apia have now not just started strongly, they've gone on with it in this first half to put some distance between themselves and today's opposition. It's been a performance of confidence and also comfort now, potentially, for this Apia 11. Slightly rotated today, but the 11 out there, that is pretty close to Franco Parisi's strongest, and they have shown that. Ortiz, how many times have we seen him do that for Apia, but for Manly United and St George City before that? Well, he just turns and is allowed to run away from defenders, and he's very, very difficult to catch, if not impossible for most. And now Olympic have just got to cling on. Farinella has a go. Thumps into the protective hoarding behind the goal, in front of the train line that runs adjacent to Belmont. Ortiz has played provider. I'm sure he'd love to provide a goal of his own. Taking back level with Awan Lawal in the Golden Boot race after Lawal's effort yesterday. Simmons bundling over Callahan. Firm but fair, said the referee, and Kambiyashi. This is when they really can be enjoyable to watch up here as Ortiz rides the challenge and went down under Clark's retreat. Got himself the right sides of the attacker as he made another foray into the area. Really has hit a purple patch. Had some injury problems through the middle of the year, Ortiz. Gonzalez was keeping him out for a time as well after he came back. Now he's been presented with that spot. He's very, very keen to make it his own. It's better from Olympic as they look to switch play, though. Callahan's ball asking too much of Nizam. First touch for Ollie Kalatz with his hands that I can remember today. He's taken a couple of goal kicks, but it's been about it. They can build from the back through Shaw. Ian Casper's under very little pressure. I wonder just how content Olympic will be here to get to the break. Just down by the 2 goals. Good his ball direct. Kambiyashi started his run from an offside position. Here's Sean Simmons barking instructions to those further up the pitch, encouraging them to press and show all that energy and intent. Really has given Olympic problems. Romanakis needs to provide his measure of professional experience over stints in the US and through Greece, Cyprus. His arm strike easily fielded by Kalatz, helped by the deflection. He's at his 3rd assist to add to 17 goals of his own this year. Cornerstone up to 7 goals in league football. Caspers. Always scheming and looking forwards, not being able to pick out a player in a too advanced position this time. To play until half-time. Olympic digging themselves out of a position here. Sitting and waited the result from Marconi, but it's still St George City hanging on at the moment. Clark carrying the ball past Armanakis this time. He's keen to do it all himself. Now lays it off for his number 10. And Armanakis both calling for movement ahead of them. And really obliging, so we move it backwards to Politis. Hong. That's so often the destroyer, just able to get a touch away from Bugaria. Simmons, well, just dispatched Kukuchka and no free kick given. If they didn't see the tug on the shirt, though, the officiating team. Wreathed poor old Sepp Kukuchka off the ball. Throw-ins found its way to their advantage in any case. Really was a sucker punch, that second Conestabro goal for Olympic. did look as though they were getting some sort of foothold in the match. It's a good way to just snuff out their torch. Back by Kukushka, the 18-year-old showing plenty of heart and vigour as he makes his way towards the area. Good piece of defending by Kuda, at least to hold him up. Kukushka still fighting. Helped out by Callahan, but Casper's had the wits about him. Michael Mileto trying to defend his 18-year-old. His team need to worry about defending themselves. Farinella with a rather weak effort to play forward by his standards. Clark. Akien. Bulgaria, interchange of passes for 22-year-old Okien, who's in a promising position now to cross. Only found Shaw at the near post. Moments like that, Olympic, over the course of this first half, they have had them, just not been able to find the killer ball whatsoever. APIA defence, we mentioned, has not looked at its best over the course of the season. Certainly over the course of the last couple of months, but been relatively untroubled today. The exception of Kukuchka's running down the right. Kalat's in no rush. Why would he be? Talked about the success of these two clubs a little earlier in the broadcast. Back in 2018, that double-winning campaign for Olympic. And won the league by 3 points from APIA Leichhardt. How times have turned here as Ortiz strikes. Curto saw the ball all the way, able to parry it behind. But it all developed very simply. And Olympic having words with the referee. Again, they're being cut open when APIA do look to go direct. Most worryingly, it's often through the heart of the pitch. Not being redirected wide. If they can provide something from this corner, it really will rub some salt into the wounds. Kambiashi was an unorthodox cross. Low towards pitch in, but he slipped as he looked to get there, and a really weak turnover that's allowed APIA forward again. Zoricic able to recover his initial error. Block the return cross. Nizam on the turn. Can he get his head up and bring some blue shirts forward with him? Clark's first touch was backwards, and he's dispossessed by Conestabbo. Slipping himself. Managing to keep his feet in the secondary little duel. The game slows to walking pace. Simmons. Kambiashi. Turn from Caspers for Monge. Kambiashi again, trying to unpick this defence for a third time. He wasn't too far from finding Conestabbo. Olympic's Polish goalkeeper off his line in the nick of time. Actually, he might have been disappointed with last Friday at Manly. There's not much he could have done about either of the goals here today. Conestabbo's strike on 15 minutes, one of the sweetest you'll see all season. A pure half volley, which was directed perfectly into the top corner. Couldn't have picked it up and put it there any closer to the connection between post and crossbar than he did with his bullet of a strike. And then the second ball from Ortiz right on the money for him to tap in from inside the 6-yard box. And so far that has been the story here from Belmore. Olympic would love a response just to feed some confidence back into the crowd that even their forays into APIA's final third have been few and far between. Clark. Callahan. He's capable of turns like that. We don't see it from him too often, but that one was a ripper. Vigaria's ball over the top blocked off by the retreating Kambiashi. And Harriet G had seen a touch there. Oli Kalatz was happy to let the ball run behind because he thought it would be a goal kick. His opinion differed to the referees. And perhaps that gives Olympic a glimmer of hope. Short consistently from these set-piece situations, and they found Nizam in a promising position. His cross blocking any sort of direction. Djuricic trying to keep the pressure on, but Kuda bypasses the midfield, finds Ortiz. And APIA in this moment they love so much again. Farinella for Conestabo. Arkian well positioned this time. Clark, who's covered more ground than anybody else out there today. He's able to play the ball forward. Monarchus forcing the pass, but Kukuchka's stolen in behind Sean Simmons and has a goal back. There's the one they were looking for. It's come from their 18-year-old startlet, who has continued to fight despite limited service, and a slip from Simmons is pounced upon by the teenager. Well, they have had a funny little habit of this at Belmore at different times this season, Olympic. Really played out of the game for the majority of this 45 minutes, but have just given themselves a sniff. Almost the last kick of the first half to make this a contest. There's frustration on the APIA bench, understandably, because they'll feel the goal was preventable from their perspective, but Sebastian Kukuchka has struck for the fourth time this season for Sydney Olympic. After two from Michael Conestabo, the first one of the goals of the competition. I think you can say that. You won't see too many balls struck as well as he struck his first. It was fed for a second by Presley Ortiz, and APIA looked to be out of sight, but that's not the case as the two teams head down the tunnel here at Belmore. Half-time in round 26 of the NPL New South Wales men's. It's Sydney Olympic 1, APIA Leichhardt 2.
Every week, hundreds of thousands of people turn up around football grounds around New South Wales. Parents, kids, refs, coaches and volunteers. Cardiac incidents can happen to anyone at any time on the pitch.
Right now, Not every club has a defibrillator.
And the ones that do are not always maintained or ready to use. In a critical moment, with a defib, that could save lives. That's why Football New South Wales, St John Ambulance and Toyota have come together for Every Beat Matters to help clubs around New South Wales to access defibrillators, cover maintenance and build a register so we know exactly where every unit is around the state. All you need to do is buy a ticket through Raffletix. $5 can make a difference. Every ticket goes towards funding defibrillators and maintenance for clubs that need it most. A live fundraising board shows exactly how much is being raised. And every ticket you buy puts you in the draw to win a Toyota Corolla. One ticket, real impact. Help your club be ready when it matters. So buy your ticket today.
A commanding punch. O'Driscoll's touch for Chipman. And the ball's good. O'Driscoll lays it off for Burgess. And the deflection takes it in. Set piece not dealt with. And Manly United draw first blood on Friday night. With Robillard and Ono, who's always an attacking outlet from left full-back. He goes for goal himself. Not dealt with by Curto. And tapped in by Coop. And Manly are now full of confidence. Evans down the right. Coop there again! 2 in 2 minutes! They're still providing enough going forward to really look an attacking threat. De Robillard on the ball. Looking for goal himself. And it's going to be tucked in by Holm.
First time ball trying to pick up Meyer. Figueira hit it straight into him. Can he get it past him? Franco Meyer. That is an exceptional finish. Good ball in, and the header from Kianese. What a finish. Risky pass there, almost getting a foot was through for Aramugo. They've done it. Robert Aramugo.
Pavlovich. Katrip's got a little bit of space here. Mustafi watching, waiting for the right time to approach. And now he engages. Katrip with a burning bit of pace. And it's a great goal for the Wanderers. Awan Lawal stoops in to head home. But first, this free kick. Anderson back. Hangs it up. And the header is in from Morrison. 2 for the Wanderers. And coming in to pick the pocket cleverly. That's well done by Chetinic. Pavlovich returns it to Chetinic. It is 3 for the Wanderers. Deliberate. Here's Petratos, all given away by Armson. Pearson Kasawaya breaking forward. He feeds it through Awan Lawal. Only one outcome when Awan Lawal has the ball in that territory. And it's 4 for...
Out to Michael Kuta, and Rory Jordan's off and gone down the outside on that left-hand side. As he's tracked across by Lockie Campbell, looks to hold him up. Rory Jordan, well, 33 seconds in. They transitioned like lightning down the left there. Mount one more raid on the UNSW defence, and it gets a deflection on the way through. And I think you'll find Presley Ortiz, as he looks to make it 3 for APIA. Presley Ortiz, he doesn't make mistakes from there. Presley Ortiz gets number 2 of the night. Falls short there, and he's onside. Presley Ortiz as he skips towards the 18-yard box, tracked by Campbell. 1v1, Tristan Prendergast. Presley Ortiz gets his hat-trick. The attacking players in teams that get all the kudos, and they look to pinch one back now. UNSW.
Webster wide for Saba. Towards the line he goes, takes on McGing, works it in. There's bodies there. There's a goal to St George City. There's the opener on 48 minutes.
You feel as though Sutherland really aren't controlling the midfield at the moment as Najjar breaks forward. Tamulkovsky puts it past Nizic. Interesting starting position of Tariq Maya on the edge of the area. Olsen steps up. And Olsen strikes it down the middle. Sutherland are level. There it goes. Cuts it back. Olsen arriving. Olsen buries it bottom corner. Some finish from Nick Olsen. Arriving late to the scene. Jordi Perez now to seal it. 3-on-1. Perez has Olsen to his left. Olsen for the hat-trick. And the win. Sutherland make it 3-1.
Fujita. Luke Quall gets a touch, and now Major can look to play it forwards. That's an excellent ball. And a chance to shoot Kunyul. It's gone through the goalkeeper, and it's an early lead. Malia. Dipped onto the crossbar. Quall with the header, and it bounces in. They have a second goal. Blacktown City.
Welcome back to Belmore. Second half about to get underway in round 26 of the NPL New South Wales men's. And Seb Kukuchka's goal just before the break has given Olympic a little lifeline, a chance of getting back into the game after Michael Conestobo's 2 goals inside the opening half hour seemed to have put them out of sight. That's certainly not the case as we kick off the second half under clear and cool skies here in Sydney's inner west. My name's Alex Molchanoff. Welcome back to the second half. These 2 historic rivals. Olympic's somewhat nomadic existence has largely revolved around this part of Sydney, the inner west. Certainly for the past 20, 25 years. So they've been neighbours with APIA, even as the Leichhardt side weren't playing National Soccer League competition. Still the 2 had a close relationship because of their close proximity. Since they've been playing regularly again, it's born into a pretty friendly little rivalry at different stages. So much on the line today that can't be the case. And there was a little bit of fire in the first half that our referee Harriet G just had to keep a lid on. Let's see if Olympic have gained any confidence out of that goal. Kukuchka stealing upon a little misplay from Sean Simmons, not something you see too often, before slotting smartly past Kalats. And so APIA's wait for a clean sheet goes on. It's going to be well on a month and a half since they've been able to keep the opposition to 0. But they do have that buffer created for them by the 2 goals before that. So though there was frustration heading into the shed, still an understanding that they do everything in their power. Over the next 45 minutes, they should walk away with a 5-point buffer up the top of the ladder, and that's because Marconi have not been able to find an equaliser against St George City. Falling by a goal to 0. Welcome to Belmore if you're joining from that game for the start of this second half. Quite dramatic result there, which means that Olympic need at least a point to ensure that they're still a chance of making their way out of the promotion relegation place. For APIA, they'll be 5 points clear if this result holds. And Franz Deli with the first touch since half-time. Abrasive changes for Franco Parisi at half-time. Simmons removed and replaced by young Josh Folato, making his league debut today. It's only his second senior appearance for APIA after starting against Banksia Tigers. The early stages of the Australia Cup. Just a 10-1 win for APIA that day. Again, Kukuchka looking to back his way towards goal and fell by short. Whistle goes in Olympic's favour. Already in the second half, playing with a measure more confidence than they did in the first. The goal looked less than unlikely. It looked almost impossible for Olympic for the majority of the opening half, but Sebastian Kukuchka, who'd probably been their brightest, stole upon the opportunity and made sure that this second half was going to provide something for the neutral between top and bottom coming into today. It's Tabiashi with a foul of frustration. And Bagaria taking well to the physical engagement he was given there. The fans are again engaged, and Nizam felled by APIA Leichhardt's debutant right back, Alessandro Pitchin. Calls from around the grandstand for a booking. They're not forth. Well, that one's not forthcoming, but the chance from a set-piece situation is. And Panos Almanakis has been entrusted with these. So he's over to try and swing something away from the goalkeeper for his defenders to attack, and Akrian did just that. It was a free header. Not able to redirect it on target. And if the inquiries in the APIA defence hadn't begun at half-time, they are certainly being conducted now. David Deputso, who's standing as the forefront of he and Parisi at the front of his technical area, is apoplectic at the ground his team are conceding. The champions, the would-be premiers, being dragged right into an arm wrestle here. And this game's got some life about it. Thanks to Olympics' bright start in this second half. Barbie have been lulled into a false sense of security. 3 in the wall. Kalats again aligning them. And Armanakis over another dead ball. This one's providing a test. It certainly had Kalats with his heart in his mouth. Passes behind without a touch. Apia can just release the pressure gauge a little. On the shadows of half-time, Olympic stole an equaliser, and they've stolen a fair bit more than that since half-time. Farinella maybe getting away with a little push. Michael Melito is pacing his technical area. And Pitchin managing to keep the ball right along the touchline. The delivery is not bad for Kambiashi. Callahan back helping out. It's been a change in shape from Olympic at half-time as well. Kukuchka furthest forward. Callahan's moved to the right. Nizam staying on the left, and Armanakis really playing as a link man between defence and midfield. Playing in the position of the number on his back. And he's dropping in and trying to conduct things. He's looked a lot more influential that way. Kukuchka not able to find the return, and Shaw strides away from danger. Maybe just a moment for Apia to regather their thoughts. They've been very frantic and frenetic since the break. Kuda. A lot about Marconi, but Sydney United now may be a close challenger as well. Just 6 points behind Apia if they win today. But they'll be just 3 points off the mark if Apia fall all the way out of this game, as unlikely as that seems. Already we've been surprised once or twice this afternoon. Chance for Falato, who's getting some rare minutes here in first grade football to make an impact. He's trying to dribble it into the feet of Saya Kambiashi. Continued the press upfield. Olympic play beyond him initially. Callahan reeled in by Farinella. This game suddenly balanced right on a knife's edge. Apia would like to create a little more breathing room again. They go about doing that through Conestabo and Ortiz. Delhi. It's Franz Delhi for Apia. Oh, and I'll tell you what, Kambiashi sniffing an opportunity, made his way in front of Kurto, not able to get boot to ball there. Clark, there's a triumvirate of Olympic players around the ball. They need to find themselves some space. Kukuchka's done that with his running power, and he's fed Nizam beautifully. Can he take it in his stride car, Nizam? Held up by Shaw. Kukuchka. Lovely dart. Seb Kukuchka. Oh, goodness me. He's having a fine afternoon. And he has the Olympic fans believing. And he has Ollie Kalats continuing to question his backline, who just can't deal with a teenager. An unknown heading into the season, Sebastian Kukuchka. Certainly outside of Sydney Olympic. It's certainly been a bit of interest drummed up by his performances over the last little while. Just the NPL scene, who's doing his stocks no harm again this afternoon against the table toppers. Seem to be churning out these promising, talented wingers. Every club across New South Wales at the moment. Think of Jaden Harb's impact this season. You think of players like Max Court, who started for APIA and made his way into the A-League. Gabriel Tillo, who was called up for Australian duty. It's an under-20 for his early performances with Sydney United. Some talented young players coming through in this state. See Max Court down below us warming up. May be called upon in this second half by Franco Parisi. Alex Denmead there as well. Still got weaponry on the bench. APIA, should they need them. No Stewart today. Jordan Segreto not in the squad. Rory Jordan after his goal inside the first minute last weekend against NSW. It's some armoury in terms of attacking talent. But Olympic have quelled that for now and are starting to offer threats of their own. He's still got some talented young attacking stocks on his bench as well, Michael Maleti. Talk about Georgios Luka, still only 20, Max Luberic, Marcus Fernandez, and then the experience, relatively, of 29-year-old Daniel Wong. A couple of league goals this season, a couple in the cup that were very important in getting past Fraser Park as they qualified for the round of 32. After being down 2-0. Not too far from here at half-time. Got the goal back before the break tonight. Who knows what the remainder of this game could offer up. Just shy of the hour mark. Feels like there's something in the wind here this evening. It's been a weekend of the unexpected. Kuda stepping out of defence now, wearing the captain's armbands with Simmons off the pitch. Good piece of defensive work from Zoricic, who really has solidified Sydney Olympic somewhat defensively, certainly down the flank since his return from the OFC Pro League. Part of that successful Auckland FC side. Second team playing in that competition. Good fight from pitch in, just to make things difficult in the very least for Nizam, and he's almost managed to keep the ball in play. Trying to sum up his options. Marcus is not a bad one, but couldn't find a player in blue. Might be a chance for Kukuchka to run again. Taken off his toe that time by Falato. A wild clearance from Shaw. Usually one of the more cultured ball players in terms of centre-backs, just hurrying his pass a little. Funny game football, how momentum can just swing as violently as this one has. He looked comfortable and confident, I think, with the two words I used after the opening half hour, after Conestabo had put them two to the good. strutted around with the football at different stages towards the end of that first half, where it looked as though that narrative was going to continue. I don't think have fought their way back. Just those little loose moments, they can't let them tot up too many. That's where things will become difficult. And now APIA to wrestle the momentum back off you. Unlikely to get it back for a second time. Again, able to cut off the initial ball, but Farinella taking up the attack. Delhi. Monge. Pitching overlapping to deliver. He's able to win just the throw. Talk about APIA's depth. They've now got a base of midfielders that both have more than the double figures in terms of A-League men's appearances. Monges with Melbourne Victory a couple of years ago. Delhi with MacArthur Bulls more recently. And there they are. Delhi applying the press. Oh, Conestabbo! What more can you say? Out of superlatives. It is a brilliant hat-trick. His first in APIA Leichhardt colours. And he has taken this game away from Olympic by himself. Bookended by two of the best strikes you'll see all season. That one on his left foot, which apparently is his less favoured. You wouldn't know it. His afternoon gets better and better, and Olympic are thrust back into the throes of discontent. On the back of an outstanding individual performance. That's not to say the team haven't contributed. They have. Getting into my stride of saying Delhi was pressing the ball, Monge laying it off for Conestabbo, but the finish really was something. And now they might be able to add a fourth. Caspers and Ortiz are going at pace now, APIA. Wind back in their sails. The corner will have to do for now. I think I also said Conestabbo wasn't going to match his goal tally. He got with spirit last season. He carries on in this mood for the final month. He might well do. It's been a pleasure to watch. Ball to the front post, he's waiting there again, and I'll tell you what, Armanakis might have denied us another moment of brilliance. And so now with heart rates a little lower on the APIA bench, Max Quarters being readied. Pitching, who's been good in his first team debut today in the league. Delhi. Delhi looking for his first goal. Farinella, well, he tried the Trivella. He's going to have to get some sort of bend on that. Politis affecting the strike. And it passes harmlessly wide. Now with Parisi and Tapuzzo in deep discussion on the touchline with their teenage superstar, it's Andrew Nuccino, who's barking instructions from a seated position on the APIA bench. And his encouragement drives them to pressing high and winning a ball back. And now play will be stopped. I wonder if that's Conestabbo taking his bow. Don't have an electronic board today, no. We're going to continue the Conestabbo show. Max Cortes is going to be brought on for Franco Farinella. First start in a little while for Franco today. But he's carried himself very tidily, and a small contingent of travelling APIA supporters down in front of us give him a good hand. Court will come to his favoured wide right position, and Connor Stubber moves centrally. That's rather ominous for Olympic. The hope of Casper's in there. He's already involved. Monge, Delhi, Ortiz. Didn't quite find Court. And made sure the ball didn't reach him. Plays well through. Caution to the wind now, Olympic, and they're readying a change of their own. Marcus Fernandez. Touch forward from Court. Just trying to give Olympic some breathing room. We talked about how Olympic couldn't afford to let APIA get the momentum back in their favour. They have unfortunately allowed that from their point of view. So once again, they must try and wrest it back for themselves. Fernandez for Nizam. A substitution as play stopped. Politis looking for a way out. Akian. Clark. He's been very industrious today, but really had the chance to get himself in attacking positions. Marcus Fernandez would love to do that. His first touches since coming on. And he's felled by pitch in, and Olympic have another promising set-piece situation, which they've created a few of today. Artificial light has well and truly taken over from the natural stuff. This Twilight Sunday kickoff at Belmore. Akian. Kitchen did well, so considered the free kick himself, and then a couple of clever pieces of defending from the teenage debutante. St Patrick's College in Strathfield will be very happy to have one of their own out there. Kalatz has actually started play with his right back on the deck, which talk a lot about APIA trying to keep the ball in play as much as possible. Might just have done them a bit of a disservice there. And just going to check whether the physio will be needed. A little much ado about nothing. So, just wrapping up the rest of today's results so far. Blacktown 4, Sydney FC 2. That's a victory that takes them just a step closer to the finals places. Henley's keeping themselves a point ahead of Blacktown with a 1-1 draw out at Rockdale, who are losing touch with Sutherland in the chase for the Australian Championship places. But the result that will reverberate everywhere. Sydney United 2, Northwest Sydney Spirit 0 out at Adenza Park. But Marconi 0, St George City 1. Marconi dropping 3 straight games for the first time since 2019, and it may have just flung them right out of the title picture. Certainly in terms of the Premiership. APIA hang on now. It will be a 5-point buffer they've opened up to their great Italian rivals. Despite not having had much luck against them head-to-head recently, they still do seem to have their measure in terms of taking home trophies. Denied the League Cup double again, as they were in the last Premiership campaign of 2023 by Sydney United, but Franco Parisi's going to have a chance at a grand final for the second straight season if they can keep this form going to the final series. It's a tricky task how that's structured. Finish the top 2, you have a much longer turnaround and get a whole week off instead of having to play an elimination final in the midweek, but doesn't always lend itself to happy endings. 90 minutes of football, so much can happen. Spirit, the first team under the old new system to be beaten in that game after winning the premiership. Having Conestoga out suspended, funnily enough, after he was sent off in round 30. Wasn't able to play in that decisive fixture against Rockdale. Going to lose the final against APIA. As for Olympic, it looks almost certain now. Said without a point here today that they'd be stuck with a promotion relegation playoff being their best scenario. It's not mathematically certain, but they'll be 12 points adrift with 4 games to play and well behind in terms of goal difference from St George City as well. Makes it beyond improbable they'd be able to reef themselves out of that. So the focus making sure that they aren't the team that go down automatically, which as the table stands they still would be. Still need to make up a point on St George FC before the end of the season. Two such historic clubs in Australian football. Again, finding themselves down the wrong end of the table in this competition. I say again, that's certainly not been the case for Olympic. It has been for St George a little more regularly. They've lived out a lot of their life in the past couple of decades down in the second division of NPL New South Wales football. It was so celebrated when they won their promotion a couple of seasons ago through the first ever promotion relegation playoff. Obvious play out to their own end at different times is still providing frustration for their coaching staff. Olympic kept their foot on the ball. Just over 15 minutes to play here at Belmore. Regular time. Clark, nice little interchange of passes between he and Bagaria. Kukuchka, who kept this game alive with his goal just before the break. Amanakis, still just the solitary goal since joining Sydney Olympic in mid-season. The shining star in their recruitment drive to try and pull themselves out of trouble. It's said very openly over the past couple of weeks he still wants to return to professional football. It's all he's ever known. Kukuchka standing the ball up to the back post. Callahan can't reel it in, but well, he managed to keep the ball in play, not to Olympic's advantage though. Olympic, amongst all this trouble, have got an Australian Championship campaign to ready themselves for in October as well. The trouble of finals football, despite their best efforts this time last year. Nearly made a late run and found their way into the finals places. Another different battle on their hands 12 months later. Caught with a clean nutmeg. He's away from his defender. Still caught keeping the football. Ortiz. And to return it to him. Delhi keeps the attack alive with Conestoga, and Hong just bustling through all of that to break it up. So, 2 league debutants looking up there, Pitchin and Folato. Misplaced pass from Conestoga. About the only foot he's put wrong this evening. Trick has been one of the highest quality. Might have 2 goal of the season contenders amongst it. That's how good it's been. Aklian has gone down behind play here. The Sydney Olympic fullback APIA sportingly putting the ball into touch, but it of course does them a favour by running down a bit of clock as well. So we all just stop for a moment to get ready for the final 10 minutes or so of this game. So Olympic not able to take anything here. They will desperately need something from the game against UNSW next Saturday in Ramwick, the Village Green, which has become a little bit of a fortress. Only a couple of games dropped there by UNSW all year. Their first season in the top tier. Before the run home of Sydney United here, Marconi here, and Sydney FC at Belmore as well. 3 games at home to finish the campaign. Akian's evening is going to come to a close, and Jacob Trisoglovic, who started the cup tie against Brisbane on Thursday, restored to the heart of defence. In fact, it looks as though he's going to slide straight into left back, so minimal disruption there. As for APIA, the chase for the premiership continues. Not too far from here, actually. It's on the site of Olympics' home ground for a time. St George Stadium, now known as Spartan Park, against St George FC, another one of the relegation battled clubs, or threatened clubs, I should say. Looking to add more and more goals to their total. Frutete takes them just shy of 60. Cocktails. Remarkable campaign where they took in 72 points is still in reach as well if they're able to win all 4 of their remaining fixtures after this one. Conestabo, Ortiz wants a goal for himself. And Politis got enough of the ball. An APIA corner. Not a chance for Ortiz to go level with Lual just yet. Franco Parisi looks the calmest he has all afternoon. Not that he ever exudes panic. Kambiashi getting set to deliver. APIA would love to repeat the scoreline that they secured against UNSW a week ago and add a 4th here. Curto punches, Conestabo. Wouldn't doubt him, given the touch he's been in today. Even happy to put in the little bit of extra effort to close down the passing lane and ensure that Armanakis couldn't clear the danger zone. Delhi down heavily in the challenge, has actually conceded the free kick. Conestabo down to have a look around. His performance has been the difference today. Drawn the ire of some of the Olympic supporters. He's actually been booked for that challenge. He's a bit bewildered by that. It's his 4th booking of the year, so there'll be a timely yellow card over the final month. Not to suggest that players do that, just to ensure that his suspension comes before the finals. 5 yellow cards over the course of the season. You do see players miss a week. Monge carrying the ball clear of danger, on the same page as Delhi. Kuda. Down the left is Falato. Came on at half-time and has looked bright. Trying to play for Avida. His cross is behind court. He's got fresh legs, so all too happy to chase down Trisoglovic, and his pass is left short for Armanakis. Conestabo can only destroy rather than create this time around. Might be one last change there is, so for not a debutant for APIA. Vickovic, the 4th official, just ticking off the substitution. So a 2nd senior appearance for Christian Lombardo. in the league. Actually scored his first senior goal in that game I mentioned that Falato debuted in against Banksia Tigers earlier in the season, so he's opened his account there. Made his league debut against Sydney FC back in March. He's coming on just to give Fabian Monge a measure of rest towards the end of this game. Conestabo, the hat-trick hero, has been kept out there. Delhi. Shaw. For pitching, he's going to see out the 90 minutes in his league debut. He's been superb, and now there might be a chance for Ortiz. Hong ensuring he couldn't get boots and ball. Not too far from finding his man, Christian Lombardo. Positive touch from Fernandez, but Kudo anticipated that and blocked off his run forwards. Way down the left, it's Falato. Oof. Why not have a crack? First senior appearance, a first senior goal to go with that. Would have been very nice. A first NPL senior appearance, I should say. He hasn't been too afraid of finding the back of the net in 20s this year, where he's started almost every game. 6 goals this season, Josh Falato. Back to Philip Curto. Falato into the challenge again. It's fallen nicely for Court. Delhi, Conestabo. It's a player full of confidence. That was ambitious even by his standards. Lightest long. They've just not been able to find Kukuchka consistently enough outside the opening 10 minutes of this second half. Change looked to have worked wonders from Melito. Moved him centrally for a time. Had him playing as the hold-up. APIA, to their credit, steadied and found their way back into the game, back into the ascendancy. Lombardo for Court. Ortiz pulling away. His ball cut off by Politis, made it easy to field for Curto. Again, the press from APIA comes. This time negotiated nicely by Clark for Soglovic. Find themselves, I don't want to say consolation quite this far out from full time. Make something of a game of it. Daniel Wong. He's being readied as one last roll of the dice. Kukuchka linking up with Trisoglovic. And Conestabo back doing some defending now. Why not? He's touching his turn in the right way at the minute. Armanakis. Kambiashi taking up the attack. Cut off by Hong. Looks like Levi Suriaga is going to be brought on as well here from an APIA perspective. A couple of changes being ready by the coaches in the dying stages of this one. Clark. Fernandez rolls the ball wide. Zoricic as far forward as we've seen him in the second half, but not able to win his team even a corner. And so Suriaga will see some time in what could be a monumental day in APIA's search for a 7th premiership. Daniel Wong is going to be first brought on. Bailey Callahan's evening is over. Again, plenty of heart and toil from one player who has been a regular starter and both coaches for Olympic so far this season. And Conestobu will get a hand as he makes his way off. If we see a better individual performance this season, I'll be very surprised. Quite terrific hat-trick, intertwined with some pretty stunning play between those 3 goals as well. One of the individual performances of the season. Tees would love to have his name just as a footnote and to add a number to his goal tally for the year. Still going to have plenty of time to chase down Lual, but to have that to his name. Kukuchka is just exploring space and finding it consistently in between APIA defenders. That time Wong not close enough to him. The cross was blocked. Ortiz. Better off Hong initially. To just drop things off for Kamiyashi and Delhi. Volato happy with a more agricultural approach, just to keep his team on the front foot. It's going to be a day of decisiveness for Olympic. They are going to be consigned to the Pro Rel playoff here. It could be with a flourish if Court gets his way. Trosoglovic cuts off his run pretty smartly as well. Oof, Trosoglovic with a clean nutmeg. Fernandez tried to repeat that and turn the ball over. Delhi shrugs him off. And the Olays beginning from the travelling APIA support now. Tidy enough, better than that. Right on the money for Lombardo, who then turned it over. The free kick goes Olympics' way. Frustration starting to grow amongst the grandstand as well. There has been some talk, but looking less likely after League One results over the course of the weekend that Bankstown City might be meeting their old rivals, the old Sydney Macedonia, against Sydney Olympic for a place in this competition next year. It's looking more likely it'll be the Northern Tigers over 2 legs if Olympic are able to haul themselves out of last place over the final month. Some shouts around the ground from frustrated Olympic and players and coaches and officials and supporters as well. We've hung around, there haven't been too many leaving the ground. This is something that's going to wear in for a little while. Still these 3 home games on the run in. Today they were always the outsiders. Kurto comes up to sweep up. Harriet G had spotted the ball going out of play. So APIA had been able to play that ball forward. Clark. Twisting and turning, but as has been so often the case for him today, there's just not been enough players to aim for in front of him. And Kuda's happy to just put his foot through the ball and make it awkward for Philip Kurto. Negotiated that well with his head quite literally. Trosoglovic. Kurto asking for options. He feeds Zoricic nicely. Nice touch from Wong. The second one wasn't bad either. Kukuchka allowed to run at the defence again. A step over and a turn, but it is a one-out play for the youngster at different times. So we tick into stoppage time. Zuriaga on the turn. Seen off initially by Zoricic, but enough to keep the ball alive. Ortiz. ridden all the way by Politis, really, and then scything down the Olympic defender as he came back there. Maybe a little bit of frustration. Suriagi is happy to argue his case for his number 9. Thinks he got plenty of the ball. Josh Hong is back to his feet. He's always brave. Well positioned there. Trosoglovic. Suriagi held up by Bulgaria. Zoricic. Last chance for Kukuchka to run. And his touch is too heavy. The sideline, or the byline, I should say, beats him. I guess is as good as mine as how long we're going to have added on. The end of this 90 minutes, but it feels as though it's only a matter of time until APIA's 5-point buffer is confirmed. Three weeks that could prove terminal for Marconi, that could prove the difference for APIA Leichhardt with a month of the season to play. Kukuchka cuts off. Check of the watch from a couple of the APIA staff on the bench, who, despite some moments of worry either side of the break, have largely been able to enjoy the work of their team from the afternoon into the evening. Delhi. In favour of Kurto. Almanakis. Fernandez. See these clever touches from Olympic and what they're capable of. It's just not been consistent enough. It's the story of their season. And some fans do begin to part the ground now. APIA's winning streak well timed and set to continue. Only one of those has been by the solitary goal. It's back-to-back defeats at Sutherland and at home against Rockdale Seamer a while ago now. Shaw just taking his time, returning to his feet. Olympic looking resigned to their fate. APIA just want the seal put on this victory now. Bulgaria perhaps with one last foray forward. Oh, even his touch has betrayed him. Caught onto the ball. Dismissed Clark. The fresher player getting the better of the one who's worked his socks off today. Ortiz still going. It's a brilliant bit of skill. Presley Ortiz couldn't beat Kurto. Well, he'd earned the opportunity himself, hadn't he? Presley Ortiz. Strength and then skill along the byline. APIA no rush whatsoever to get the ball back in play. Tick towards a 5th minute of stoppage time. This is past the cherry on top of the sprinkles if APIA can find another goal here. Have the sparklers coming out the top of the cake as well. Crosses too deep. tongue-in-cheek appeals go. Well, come and catch us now. APIA say to the rest of the competition, has it been a defining 4 weeks in the chase for the premiership? Parisi within touching distance now of his second as APIA Leichhardt head coach. They're 7th in history if they can win out. They've now got a 5-point buffer over Marconi. Convincing here, Michael Conestaba the story. A hat-trick of the highest quality. 2 goals in the first half and the third with his left foot in the second after Olympic had made a game of it through Seb Kukuchka. But that defeat means their best hope, their only hope of staying up, is through a promotion relegation playoff with a second place team in League One. It's a feeling of desolate despair here at Belmore, as those who have hung around for the entirety of the 90 minutes and this season make their way wounded from the grandstand again. But for APIA, it's all cheers ahead of their visit to Barton Park against St George next weekend. Thank you for your company on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel. My name's Alex Molchanoff, signing off from Belmore, where it has finished Sydney Olympic 1, APIA Leichhardt 3.